Good afternoon, everyone. We'll get started in 2 minutes. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the October meeting of the MTA Finance Committee meeting to order. Doug, are there any public speakers?
Yes, sir. There's one public speaker. Murray Bowden is here.
Mr. Bowden?
Good morning. My name is Murray Bowden, and I live in Hartsdale, New York. On today's agenda are procurements for Metro North, Long Island Rail, New York City Transit, and none for bridges and tunnels. This morning at each of those meetings, I asked to meet with the president to discuss financial items, how money is spent. At 2 o'clock this afternoon, I'll be meeting with Pat Foy, Executive Director of the Port Authority, on a similar item, how is money spent? The sooner I can begin the discussions on changing perceptions and changing ideas that have been there for many years, the more money that can be saved and used in better ways. The cooperation that I've been receiving has been extraordinary. Progress is going forward faster than I could have ever imagined. So I look forward to meeting with the presidents of the 4 organizations and beginning discussions on how to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, could I have the approval of the September 21st minutes? And if so, could I have a motion and a second, please? All in favor? Aye. Doug, could you take us through the work plan, please?
Sir, there are no changes to the work plan.
Hearing that, could you now move to Budget Watch?
Yes, thank you very much. This month we'll be comparing results against the mid-year forecast. We'll be comparing subsidy results through October and operating results through September. I'm pleased to report that in most categories we are running favorable to the budget, and I'm going to highlight some of the notable events. Real estate transaction taxes were $26 million favorable in October, and that increased the year-to-date variance to $54 million, or 4.7%. Toll revenues continue to be strong and were almost $20 million, or 1.5% favorable through September. Expenses were modestly favorable in September. Year-to-date, they are $122 million, or 1.5% favorable. Some of that would be real savings, although a significant portion of that appears to be timing-related savings that will be made up later in the year or early next year. Passenger revenues are basically on target. Favorable Long Island Railroad revenue was offset by unfavorable subway and bus revenue. State dedicated tax are virtually on target. Payroll mobility tax, PMT, a little bit higher, offset by lower petroleum business tax receipts. So to sum up, overall we are doing better than the plan, although, as I stated earlier, a lot of that reduction in the expenses appears to be timing. We're finishing up the analysis on these trends, and you'll see the 2015 forecast recast in the November plan, which we will be presenting next month. Are there any questions?
Finance Watch.
Pat?
Good afternoon. The first item to report in Finance Watch is extension of a letter of credit from Helaba Bank in connection with Transportation Revenue Bonds 05D1. That happened on October 15th. Next, we had a remarketing, converting a standby bond purchase agreement, also with Helaba Bank, to a letter of credit for TBTA bonds, $187,695,000 of the 2002 F bonds. And that was just emailed out to the board last week. Next, we have conversion of outstanding floating rate notes to bank-supported variable rate demand bonds. And here we have the Transportation Revenue Bonds 2002 G-1Gs and $125 million of the subseries 2012 G-2. We're going to have letters of credit provided by TD Bank on both subseries of bonds. That will be mailed out to the board later today. And again, this is just comparing a very favorable bank market in the current market as opposed to less favorable floating rate note market. And we're going to continue to pivot back and forth between those products to keep our costs as low as possible going forward. Upcoming financing is TBTA General Revenue Bonds 2015 Bs, and also a conversion of $105 million of the 2008 B3 bonds. This will be a fixed rate transaction in total, and notable that we're doing this with all MWBE managers. Will be a book running manager, Loop Capital Markets, will run the deal, and then our other minority and women-owned firms will participate in the syndicate as well on that. And then lastly, we have a $5 million diesel fuel hedge that we executed on September 28th. This was slightly over 3 million gallons of ULSD, locked in at an all-in price of $1.69 per gallon. So we're continuing to see favorable movement on the price of commodities. And this is a 24-month contract. Yeah. Through the first hedged month will be September of 2016. The final hedged month is August of 17. So that's the period we're locking in. And unless there's any questions, that concludes Finance Watch.
Okay. MTA, all agency items?
Yes, we have 4 report and information items, the first being a presentation by Mr. Pat McCoy on the annual review of MTA's derivative portfolio. That can be found on page 32 of your book.
Right. Thank you. You're welcome. So I'll put these slides up as well, but they're also in your book for your reference. Are we ready there? Okay, thank you. MTA's derivatives program reduces budget risk by employing interest rate and fuel hedging strategies. Our synthetic fixed rate portfolio remains low cost versus traditional fixed rate bonds. We currently have 13 transactions with 6 different counterparties, and I'll provide the details on that later. These trades were executed between 2001 and 2007. As you can see here, the synthetic fixed rate of 4.13% compared to our 4.09% for traditional long-term fixed rate bonds remains very competitive and very favorable, keeping in mind that those trades were locked in a prior market environment. Next, we have MTA's fuel hedging program, which is designed to mitigate budget risk by dollar cost averaging half of our expected fuel purchases for ULSD. We currently have 22 active hedges with 3 counterparties, with a final maturity in 2017. Our average locked-in rate for the next 12 months is $2.35 per gallon, again, and that's for approximately half of our expected fuel spend. Well, current market is closer to what I just provided in Finance Watch, about $1.69, $1.68 per gallon. Okay. So let's turning to interest rate swap portion of the portfolio. This is designed to manage budget volatility while maintaining a very low cost of capital. And here we're speaking about the green slice of the pie, comprising $2.453 billion of notional amount of bonds, or 6.8% of the portfolio. As you can see, the majority of our portfolio continues to be in traditional fixed rate, 85.5% or $30.7 billion in fixed rate. And then, of course, we always have our unhedged variable rate of $2.7 billion. Interest rate exposure is managed through a combination of low synthetic fixed rate portfolio management through refundings, and reasonable floating rate exposure. Overall exposure to liquidity events is manageable with a total variable rate debt load of $5.235 billion allocated between bank facilities and FRNs. As those transactions amortize naturally, as they were intended to do, the portfolio has declined from $2.49 billion to $2.45 billion year over year, just through that normal amortization. The weighted average cost of the portfolio remains at a very attractive 4 1/8%, and that includes fees and any benefit of upfront payments that occurred in the past. And again, we believe this continues to be a manageable portion, manageable exposure at 6.8%. And here you can see who our counterparties are, starting with AIG, BNP Paribas, Citibank, JP Morgan Chase Bank, Bank of New York Mellon, and UBS AG. We monitor their ratings. As you can see here, the ratings are all appear both currently and then as they looked a year ago, the notional amount per firm, and the mark-to-market year over year. I would just note that we continue to seek novation opportunities to increase counterparty credit strength and to make the portfolio more liquid. What do I mean by that? To the degree that we can find a better rated entity that's willing to take an existing trade that we could move that trade over to, we would do that assuming there would be no cost involved. Okay, so we'll turn our attention now to fuel hedging. We hedge 50% of our expected ULSD costs to protect against negative impacts to the budget. And this is done pursuant to a board authorization in September of 2012. We exclusively use a competitive bidding process to hedge our fuel. And as you can see here, we have 3 approved counterparties: Merrill Lynch Commodities, J. Aron and Company, which is a division of Goldman Sachs, and JP Morgan. And next to each firm, you see the amount of gallonage we have hedged with each counterparty. We are currently working to get a 4th counterparty approved and to participate in this program. I would just note that we've designed the program to be very robust and very beneficial to the MTA, and getting that 4th counterparty lined up has taken some effort, and we'll continue to work on that and report back when we have some news on that. This is a picture of our current portfolio of hedges as compared to expected purchases. You can see over the next 12 months we're 50% hedged, and that declines by 4% each year going out to the farthest month, August of 17, where we're only 4% hedged. So each new hedge lays on that next layer out at the back end of the schedule. The goal of the program is to be always hedged 50% for the next 12 months, declining to month 24. This gives us very clear budget visibility on the cost of this very volatile commodity. The hedged price helps determine the fuel budget. As you can see here, the dashed green lines represent the financial plan period assumption for the cost of fuel. The green dots represent the average hedge price in place. So let me go on to the next one here. Fuel costs have fallen as the hedge program protects upcoming budgets while spreading out participation in market moves. With limited resources to protect the budget from negative volatility, this strategy reduces the impact of potential spikes in fuel prices. And as you can see here, focusing on the dark blue and the dark green line, the dark blue line is the price of fuel for the period that we're covering here, January 13 through May of 15. The green line is our hedge price. The solid green line is the hedge price. The actual price we paid for everything, including hedges and costs. The dashed green line is really the line to focus on. This is what the benefit of the hedging program gives us, which is that future visibility. And we do lock in the benefit of prices as they fall, as you can see here in this slide. We're not always going to capture the benefit of going to zero. The price of the fuel can never go below zero. The upside risk can be, you name it. And so we're really protecting against that upside spike in prices of fuel. So you can see here what the hedge price with the dash green line does is just smooth out the risk of volatility going forward. Sure, Andrew.
Have you done any analysis, say, of the past 2 years? Obviously, when you hedge, it's going to be advantageous for a period of time, and for some period of time, it will be disadvantageous. Have you done any analysis to see how much we've been on the right side of that equation?
We've analyzed this extensively, and we've also involved our outside swap advisor, Mohanty Gargiulo, and we have. And you know, there's been a number of permutations that we've looked at, hedging more, hedging less, et cetera. One, we don't want to make a market call, and that's really sort of a key fundamental of the program. And this meets that objective. Secondly, and most importantly, we want to know how much our fuel cost is going to be. As you know, you pay more at the pump or less at the pump month by month. We are currently in an environment where we're paying because the price of fuel is dropping below our hedge price.
Yes.
That's actually a good thing, believe it or not. We don't enter into these trades because we want to settle and gain money. Remember,
Well,
half
it's a
the
good thing
portfolio.
because only 50% is hedged.
That's
obviously.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. And again, given the size of our overall budget, the portion of it that fuel represents, given the fact that it is a volatile commodity, we felt that, again, after analyzing this internally and with the assistance of our outside advisors, felt that this hedge proportion is correct for the MTA, given all those parameters. And remember, no two institutions are going to look at it the same way. So we had to look at it based on our needs, based on our resources, et cetera. And we do believe that this is the right level to be at. Right. So, you know, to your point, we did, you know, as we were spending a lot of time on this issue, we did update the fuel summary that's in the back of the finance book. It's on page 140 of the book. It's also on the on director's desk. This provides it's two sheets. One provides a summary of all of our average price per month going forward, starting with the current month, all the way out to the final month. And you see the percent of fuel hedged, the weighted average price for each month, the adopted budget assumption, and then you see the July plan forecasted assumption. On the next page, really the key takeaway there is, you know, ULSD, as you can see in the current year, both comparing actual as well as forecasted results, we're assuming about an $80 million benefit, lower prices than we had budgeted. The impact of the hedge, you see a negative $44.5 million, getting us to a net impact of $35.46 million. So we're still in the positive. We're still
For that whole period, we had hedged the 50% that we're now hedging?
approximately 50%, exactly. Yeah. So does that address your question? Okay. So with that, there is an appendix here. I won't go into it, but there's just more detail on our interest rate transactions, and happy to take any questions now.
Any questions?
Okay, the second item in this category is, for your information, is the MTA 2015 Semi-Annual Investment Report. It's for your information. If you have any questions, our treasurer, Josiane Codio, is here to take any questions. The next item is the update on the Business Service Center, and Wael Hibri is here to present it.
Thank you, Doug. Chairman Prendergast, Mr. Ferrer, and members of the Finance Committee. I'll present, it's on page 51 in your book, and we'll catch up with the PowerPoint. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about the Business Service Center. I presented last year about our progress. Today, I will talk about where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. We know the BSC was off to a rocky start, but now it is running smoothly. We're putting the platform that we built to good use, providing better service to our employees, vendors, and the public. Here are some transaction levels that we're processing annually on one system, and it was not always the same way. In the past, while we had many instances of PeopleSoft at the MTA, none of these systems were integrated. None of them were communicating and sending information to each other. Each of them was totally independent and processed information according to a different set of business rules. The present, when the BSC was established, we finally had an integrated and common platform that allowed innovation and savings. For example, the BSC's paperless environment has enabled self-service. This involves scanning 35,000 documents and 31,000 invoices every month. In fact, our document management center, which is pictured up above, is the only place where you'll see stacks of paper at the Business Service Center. The BSC portal allows employees to review and manage their personal information. We see spikes in usage during retroactive wage adjustment and benefits open enrollment periods. This is good because it allows employees easy access to information that in the past they would have to make a visit to the office or make a lengthy phone call to be able to get that information. The BSC portal makes recruiting easier. Today, all of our recruitment is through the portal. We receive 42,000 applications every month, and we hire over 500 employees monthly. Our call center receives 1,000 calls per day. We pick up the phone in under 30 seconds, and our first call resolution is at 80%. We just installed an interactive voice response system that better integrates our call center with PeopleSoft, allowing our supervisors to better manage staff and effectively monitor and respond to high call volumes when necessary. Just recently, we implemented benefit self-billing. Before the BSC, our benefits providers built the MTA on the basis of their own records, and it was incumbent on us to reconcile all the details and make sure that we are paying the right amount. The process was long, tedious, and expensive. Today, using our platform that contains all relevant enrollee and dependent details, about 200,000 participants, we generate and pay our own bill, and we put the onus of reconciling the bill on our vendors. Less than 1% is usually disputed, and that's usually because of the dynamic nature of the dependent enrollee provider, the reaching retirement age or reaching Social Security age. Before, we used to send personalized packages to all of our employees, advising them of their current selections, their current benefit selections, and their available options during an open enrollment period that runs from now until December. All of this was derived from PeopleSoft, printed out, collated, mailed, and sent out to our employees and retirees. Last year, however, we did an experiment. We mailed cards such as these that contained information that directed them to their online personalized data. We send these cards to about half of our staff, our night shift enrollees, who are typically employees of the two railroads, MTA headquarters, and bridges and tunnels. At the same time, we printed the traditional packages that we collated and put in the mail, about 75,000 of these. And we noticed that the number of plan changes was no different between the old time-consuming process and expensive process and the newer process. In fact, with the support of the unions this year, we've sent postcards to all of our employees and retirees to a savings of $250,000 per year just in mailing costs alone. Looking to the future, we have a lot of opportunities that are lying ahead. We are upgrading PeopleSoft to the latest release to achieve simplicity and standardization, which we want to translate into savings. Here's the timeline of the upgrade project. Up at the top, if you look, the upgraded human resource system is being tested, and now the plan is to turn it on over New Year's weekend. This is the blue bar at the top of the chart. The financials platform, which has our general ledger and our procurement module, accounts payable and accounts receivable, that will go live towards the end of 2016. We're not upgrading for the sake of upgrading. We're upgrading because the upgrade will bring additional benefits that we do not have today. For example, PeopleSoft will be accessible from mobile devices, which is very helpful to our field employees. We also can improve procurement functionality. Procurement functionality, which was a major pain point in the original PeopleSoft implementation, will receive additional key features to help procurement and our suppliers do their job easier. Vendors will update their data online with proper review. The strategic sourcing module will reduce manual data entry, and the online catalog will facilitate purchases of commodities from established contracts. Furthermore, candidates will soon be able to check the status of their employment applications online with minimal effort. This is something Commissioner Ferrer has been a proponent of. An applicant tracking system that will help us process employment applications faster will be piloted at Metro North. In our accounts payable department, we're looking to implement mature scanning technology to automatically populate voucher forms at the BSC to speed up invoice processing. This system is expected to process 50% of the BSC's invoices without manual intervention. Finally, we're investigating how employees can make their benefits elections online. Employees make benefits elections at two major points: when they're hired and during open enrollment every year. It is time-consuming and expensive. PeopleSoft provides an online system to do so, and we're investigating if that meets our needs. When the board pushed the BSC through in the late 2000s, we knew that it would be difficult to consolidate so many operations, and it was. Today, we feel that the vision of the board has been a success. Recently, the government of Abu Dhabi contacted Oracle to find the best model they can follow to build their own government business service center. Oracle recommended only two organizations globally, the MTA Business Service Center and the National Health Service in the United Kingdom. A team of 11 government executives flew in to spend a day with us at the BSC, and then flew that same evening to London to complete their research. We have also been invited to present at Harvard University's Public Sector Summit about the progress we've made. Many agencies aspire and are trying to have shared services, but few are able to implement them. This is something we can all be proud of here. Just a week ago, the leadership of New York State's Business Service Center came to see us, to see our operation and benefit from our experience. They had implemented the financial platform, and they're now looking to implement the human resource platform. I want to thank you all for listening and answer any questions you may have.
I think Weil's characterization of a rocky road is it's kind of a soft statement. It was very difficult early on. December 1st is 6 years now that I've come back from my second tenure, and early on, the issues at the Business Service Center that we're dealing with and the problems that the agencies were seeing were an order of magnitude worse than they are today. And his leadership and his team have done a very good job. And I think if you would just blindly ask any of the agency heads today where it stands versus where it stood 4 or 5 years ago, it's a sea change difference. So thanks, Weil.
Thank you.
Okay, the last item on our information items at headquarters, as we do every September and October, we include the July financial plan on the agenda just to give people the opportunity to opine at the meeting. So next we're going to go to procurements, and there are 4 competitive headquarter procurements for miscellaneous personal services contracts totaling $5.995 billion. Those are in section 5, pages 73 to 79. $5.995 million. Can't read my own writing.
Second, any comments or questions? All in favor?
We have one ratification to award a competitive miscellaneous service contract for a total of $1.8 million.
Can we have a motion? Second. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Moving next to Metro North, there's one non-competitive procurement for Metro North for a total of
I'm sorry, on the staff summary for the business transformation consulting services, I just took a quick look at it, and it's got, on page 79, it's got fair payment, F-A-I-R instead of F-A-R-E, so you might want to change that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Moving on, Long Island Railroad, we have two non-competitive procurements. Did we vote on Metro North? No.
Didn't vote on Metro North.
So one non-competitive procurement for Metro North for a total of $4.5 million.
Motion? Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Moving to Long Island Railroad, there are two non-competitive procurements, one jointly with Metro North. That's for a grand total of $3,887,000.
Motion? Second. Any comments, questions? All in favor?
Moving to New York City Transit MTA bus operations, for New York City Transit, we have one non-competitive procurement for a grand total of $122 million.
Second. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Okay. No items for bridges and tunnels, and there are no items for FIMTAC, which would, you'll note, as per usual, we have MTA consolidated reports that you'll find in section 11, and real estate is next with Jeff Rosen.
Thanks, Doug. We have one action item this month for you. It's staff summary in the books. It relates to retail space at the new North White Plains garage. Unless there are any questions, I'd ask for approval.
I'll move it.
Second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. I think that completes the agenda for the meeting. So may I have a motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor? Aye. We will start Capital Program Oversight Committee early. I believe we have to be within 15 minutes, right, Donna? So we will start at 1:30. Donna, is it 30 minutes or 15? 15?